The history of Ireland before its partition in 1921 is a tale of complex relationships, cultural identity, and political conflict. To understand why Ireland was ultimately divided into two distinct entities, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, it's essential to examine the centuries of history that preceded this event. From ancient Celtic traditions to colonization by England, and from religious shifts to nationalist movements, the story of Ireland is one of struggle, resilience, and identity. Early Ireland, a land of kings and clans. Long before the concept of modern states, Ireland was home to a rich Celtic culture. By the Iron Age, around 500 BCE, Celtic tribes dominated the island, bringing with them language, art, and a tribal system of governance. Ireland was divided into numerous kingdoms, each ruled by a local king. These kings were often at odds with each other, vying for control of land and resources. Celtic traditions, such as Druidism, flourished. The Druids were spiritual leaders, judges, and teachers, shaping the culture and beliefs of early Irish society. This was a time when Ireland was relatively isolated from the rest of Europe, preserving its unique identity. The arrival of Christianity. In the 5th century CE, a monumental shift occurred with the arrival of Christianity. Saint Patrick, a Roman-British missionary, is credited with converting much of Ireland to Christianity. Over time, pagan traditions intertwined with Christian practices, creating a distinct Irish Christianity. Monastic communities became centers of learning and culture, producing illuminated manuscripts like the Book of Kells. These monasteries also preserved European knowledge during the Dark Ages, earning Ireland the nickname, the Land of Saints and Scholars. Despite Christianity's unifying influence, Ireland's political landscape remained fractured. The lack of a centralized authority left the island vulnerable to external threats, the Viking invasions and the rise of Dublin. From the late 8th century onward, Ireland faced waves of Viking invasions. These Norse raiders plundered monasteries and settlements, but also established long-term trading posts. One of the most significant was Dublin, founded around 841 CE, which grew into a powerful city-state. The Vikings integrated into Irish society over time, contributing to Ireland's economy and culture. However, their presence also intensified conflicts among Irish kingdoms as they sought alliances with or fought against the Norse, the Norman conquest of Ireland. In the 12th century, Ireland entered a new phase of foreign influence with the arrival of the Normans. The story begins with Dermot MacMurrough, a king ousted from his territory. Seeking to reclaim his power, he invited Anglo-Norman forces from England, led by Richard de Clare, known as Strongbow, to assist him. The Normans quickly established control over large parts of Ireland, building castles and introducing feudal systems. In 1171, King Henry II of England declared himself Lord of Ireland, making Ireland a vassal state of the English crown. This marked the beginning of centuries of English involvement in Irish affairs. English rule and the Tudor conquest. Over time, English influence waned outside the Pale, a region around Dublin where English authority remained strong. Much of Ireland continued to be governed by local Gaelic lords. However, this autonomy ended with the Tudor conquest in the 16th century. The Tudor monarchs, particularly Henry VIII and Elizabeth I, sought to consolidate control over Ireland. This era saw brutal military campaigns, land confiscations, and attempts to impose Protestantism on a predominantly Catholic population. The English policy of plantation began during this time, with Protestant settlers from England and Scotland being granted confiscated Irish land, especially in Ulster, deepening religious divisions in Ireland. The Protestant Reformation further complicated Ireland's relationship with England. While England embraced Protestantism, most Irish people remained devoutly Catholic. This religious divide became a defining feature of Irish history, fueling tensions between native Irish Catholics and Protestant settlers. In 1641, a Catholic uprising against Protestant landowners erupted in Ulster, one of the Irish provinces, leading to widespread violence. This conflict was exacerbated by the English Civil War and Cromwellian conquest of Ireland in the mid-17th century. Under Oliver Cromwell's rule, Irish Catholics faced massacres, land confiscations, and forced migration. By the end of the 17th century, Protestants owned the vast majority of Irish land. The penal laws and suppression of Catholic rights. The 18th century brought the introduction of penal laws, a series of oppressive measures aimed at marginalizing Catholics and other non-Anglicans. These laws barred Catholics from owning land, holding public office, and receiving education. The goal was to solidify Protestant dominance in Ireland. Despite these hardships, Irish Catholics preserved their culture and faith. Secret hedge schools educated Catholic children, and resistance to English rule simmered beneath the surface. The seeds of rebellion. The 1798 Irish Rebellion. The late 18th century saw the emergence of the Society of United Irishmen, inspired by the American and French revolutions. This group sought to unite Catholics and Protestants in a common cause for Irish independence. The 1798 Irish Rebellion, led by figures like Theobald Wolfe Tone, was a major attempt to overthrow British rule. However, the rebellion was brutally suppressed, leading to thousands of deaths and the execution of its leaders. The Act of Union and 19th century nationalism. In 1801, the Act of Union formally merged Ireland with Great Britain, creating the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Ireland lost its parliament, and Irish MPs were sent to Westminster. While this union was intended to stabilize Ireland, it only deepened resentment. The 19th century was marked by repeated efforts to achieve Irish self-governance. Daniel O'Connell, known as the Liberator, successfully campaigned for Catholic emancipation in 1829, allowing Catholics to hold public office. Later, Charles Stewart Parnell led the Home Rule movement seeking an autonomous Irish parliament. The Great Famine and its aftermath. The Great Famine of the 1840s was a turning point in Irish history. A potato blight devastated the staple crop, leading to mass starvation, disease, and emigration. Over 1 million people died, and another million emigrated, primarily to the United States. The British government's inadequate response to the famine fueled anger and mistrust. For many Irish people, the famine epitomized English neglect and oppression. The path to partition. By the early 20th century, the push for Irish independence had gained momentum. The Easter Rising of 1916 and the subsequent Irish War of Independence, 1919 to 1921, were direct responses to centuries of colonization, famine, and inequality. However, divisions within Ireland complicated the path forward. Ulster, with its Protestant majority, opposed Irish independence, fearing domination by Catholic nationalists. This divide between nationalist and unionist communities would ultimately lead to the partition of Ireland in 1921. In conclusion, the history of Ireland before partition is a story of resilience, identity, and conflict. From ancient Celtic traditions to centuries of English domination, the island's past is deeply intertwined with questions of power, religion, and culture. Understanding this history is crucial to comprehending the complexities of Ireland's partition and the enduring divisions that followed.